Welcome back, everyone, to another hot take episode of Salty Socks.
This is hot off the presses.
This is actually our fourth recorded, but our third published. Sean, what happened there?
Well, last week we recorded our Last Jedi video, which was this culmination of everything we wanted to do on this channel, talk about The Last Jedi. And it was a lengthy video, and we've been putting a lot of effort into, and I'll say Joseph actually has been doing a great job with the editing. And before we could finish the editing and publish that video, some interesting news came out of Lucasfilm, Joseph. So why don't you tell the viewers some things that we recently learned?
Okay, so this is news straight from Collider. So we're not a news organization, we're just relaying the facts here. But supposedly, what they've learned is all the standalone films, and confirmed was Obi-Wan and slightly confirmed was Boba Fett, those are now on hiatus, and they've stopped production.
As if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
And I honestly am very upset.
So I think it is interesting that the article says that the source tells Collider that the standalone movies have stopped production. They've halted all production on those to focus resources into Episode 9 and future trilogies, which presumably is the Rian Johnson trilogy, because as far as I know, that's the only other trilogy that has been announced.
Right.
The Benioff and Weiss thing that's supposed to come out on the streaming service was just called a series. I don't know that that's actually a trilogy, but the casualty of this is the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. By far. That one was confirmed by Collider with this breaking news that was in some form of pre-production and has now stopped. But there was no confirmation that they had made much progress at all on the Boba Fett movie. And I think most fans are more upset about losing this Obi-Wan movie. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And when talking to coworkers today, that's exactly how they feel too. This is just like, of all the responses to Last Jedi and Solo's disappointment in the box office, this is not the right answer, I feel like.
So yeah, my raw emotional reaction is the same, because I want the Obi-Wan movie.
Yes. When they announced the standalone films, I feel like the Obi-Wan movie has been rumored ever since.
Yes.
Right? And that's been the only thing that really, I feel like, has never soured on people's minds. Han Solo was like, okay, why do we need a backstory on him? There was rumblings of Boba Fett ever since the beginning, but that kind of died away and resurrected. And then I even heard rumblings of a Yoda one, and I was like, okay, that's even worse than Boba Fett. I really don't want that. But besides the point.
So here's a couple things that I think as this comes out. In our Last Jedi video, which has not been published yet, so this will come out before that, and we actually talk at the very end of that about the Obi-Wan movie, which is ironic because now it seems like it's not happening. And at the end of our Last Jedi video, we talk about how we hope it does happen.
So uncivilized.
We talk in the Last Jedi video about the creative vision for Lucasfilm and how we feel like there's no clear vision for where we're going with this franchise. And this announcement or leaked news story now, which comes days after we talked about that, is either one of two things. One, it is more evidence that it's a circus at Lucasfilm and nobody has a clear idea of what they're trying to do. Or we'll only know in the future, or it could be the first start to solidifying that vision and realizing we thought we wanted to do these anthology standalone movies, but we actually need to just focus on these bigger event trilogies. Mm-hmm. And so this might be this step in the right direction to kind of tighten up that creative vision. It's just unfortunate that the casualty of that is an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that so many people wanted.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the hard reset that I think fans were asking for. But I think they went too far in this. I think they could have. It shows me they're not listening to the fans. You know, I don't know of a single person who ever said anything against the Obi-Wan movie. And Ewan McGregor obviously wants to do it. I mean, every time he's on television, it seems like they ask him the question, right? And he's always willing. And he's like the perfect age and like the greatest person from the prequels anyway. So everyone's like, "Can't we just get Ewan McGregor back?" But
It does. It lines up so perfectly to do it right now.
that's the other thing that scares me. Is like, okay, so 2019, Episode 9, what 2021, the start of the new trilogy, and so maybe 2028 until another. I mean, I don't know. Am I looking too far ahead here?
So that's the thing is we don't know after episode 9, is it immediately a year or 2 years after that we go into the Rian Johnson trilogy, or is Rian Johnson's trilogy way far out? When this Disney streaming service comes out, are they going to be making like how Netflix has the Netflix original movies? Are we going to be having Disney streaming service original movies that they could do some of these standalone movies there, so they just won't be theatrical releases? They're going to be Netflix type movies, streaming movies. I think that will definitely happen. I also think that the fans wanted an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but when we say fans, I think it is a smaller population than the casual moviegoer who goes to see Star Wars movies. And my own experience with Solo, since I have to mention Solo in every video, my own experience with Solo is the second time I went to see it, I went to see it with a good friend and coworker who is a big Star Wars fan, but he made the comment to me after the movie, because no spoilers, but because of events in that movie, he leaned over and made a comment about, "Oh, I didn't know this happened before The Phantom Menace." And I'm like, "Oh, well, it didn't." But I can see why that's confusing, even for someone who's a big Star Wars fan. If you're not like closely following every piece of content that Lucasfilm and Disney is putting out, I think it gets confusing with we relaunch with the sequel trilogy, Rey and Finn. Then we come out with Rogue One. But for the casual fan, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with Rey and Finn's story, and that this is back from before episode 4. Then we jump to Last Jedi. We're back with the Finn and Rey stuff. Then we're doing Han Solo, which is before A New Hope. So the chronology keeps jumping back and forth into the future and the past. And maybe that's one reason why for the fans, it's a little bit like they're trying to reset and saying we're all over the place right now.
I agree. That's a good point. So let's transition now, Sean, in loving memory of the standalone films that have not happened and will not happen ever again. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm a man of hyperbole. We're never seeing another standalone. I want to ask you, do you have a standalone film you would have liked to have seen?
So I think both of our answers is going to be Obi-Wan, so I'm going to take that off. Obviously the Obi-Wan one. But one that they never even had an inkling of or hinted at doing, I have some that I would have liked to see. My condition for this is I think they would only ever do standalone movies from the existing eras.
Okay.
So I thought originally, like, I would like to see a standalone movie about maybe the origin of the Force, like the very first Force user. How did that person come to know that they could use the Force? But then I thought, if they went into that type of time period, I feel like they would make a trilogy because it's an unexplored time period. So to me, I think they're a little limited with the standalone to stay with original trilogy or between episode 3 and 4 or right after episode 6 type of thing. Anyway, picture this. Here's my pitch, okay?
Okay, you do one, then I'll do one. How about that?
Okay. We open up on the dusty planet Tatooine. The twin suns with heat waves on the sand, okay? Okay, we pan across and we see Jabba's palace, all right? And then the camera zooms in, and it goes through the door, and we're going on this wild ride through the corridors of Jabba's palace, and it goes down a hallway, and all of a sudden, it pans in real close, and all of a sudden you just see two hot metal searing things come down, and you hear the droid go, ah, no! And then up on the screen comes one word, Gonk, the Star Wars story. And we get an entire standalone movie about a Gonk droid's journey through the galaxy.
Huh.
What do you think about that?
A walking battery, huh?
That's obviously a joke, but I do think that it'd be interesting, similar to the novel A Certain Point of View or Lost Stars, to see big galactic events through the eyes of like a nobody, a droid, somebody in the background that like isn't a hero and doesn't have the Force and isn't even involved in the galactic turmoil or anything. It's just a normal person living their life, and like, oh, what is their experience? What's the propaganda they hear about the Death Star or the Empire or things like that? So that's a joke one. You do one, and then I have a serious one. But
oh gosh,
that was just a
now I
joke.
gotta come up with a joke one now. No, here's my serious one.
I came up with 5, but you're obviously limiting me.
Well, we want to get this out to the viewers tonight.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Here's mine. I was kind of playing off of Harry Potter's, well, not Harry Potter, but the mythical creatures. What is the series we're in right now? Fantastic Beasts, right?
Fantastic Beasts, yeah.
I would like to see a movie where there's just this kind of same thing, a zoologist, who travels around to different planets trying to capture these beasts. And you know how like Han and Chewie in Force Awakens are taking the Rathtars to King Prana, I think is his name, like something like that, where, and then a little Easter egg is the guy from Jabba's palace getting his Rancor. Like, I just think that would be cool. Just kind of like this cool video or movie going through different planets. You know, they hit some snags along the way. They have to smuggle some creatures through, Imperial arms, that sort of stuff. Introduce us to new things, new planets, and really to nobodies. No Force, no Jedi, none of that stuff. Yeah, give me your reaction to that. What do you think of that?
I think it would be cool to see. And this is obviously just hypothetical for us. So, yeah, I would love to see that, to see some cool places, do some world building, see some creatures. I think a lot of fans would, if they didn't like Solo, they definitely wouldn't like that because they feel like Solo's plot is like there's no, they want these epic grand things. But I like the standalone idea of this isn't like a life or death, the galaxy's on the brink of destruction type movie.
You know what I like?
Watch that.
Do you know what makes me most sad about this, and then we can get onto your pitch, is the standalones to me are the sandbox for people to play in, right? And you can make mistakes and you can do things in them that don't really have a big impact in the saga, right?
Yeah.
So you can do like a Han Solo. Doesn't do too well, but it's still fun. But it doesn't really affect the overall grand storyline, right?
Yeah.
That's why I like the standalones. You can do other things. And I just feel like... Anyway. I don't like the fact we're getting rid of them.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the last one I'll say, and then I have one last question for you.
Okay.
So the other one I thought was to steal the idea of like Indiana Jones. So in the comics now, there's like a Dr. Aphra character who's like an archaeologist type lady adventurer, and I think that'd make a great movie to have someone, Dr. Aphra or a character, go through the galaxy looking for ancient Jedi artifacts or ancient Sith artifacts, and they come across things and they, that are just legends, these legendary items, and they think it's a myth or an urban legend, but it actually is like this supernatural thing that has some sort of Force connection with it, and seeing normal people interacting with these Force sensitive objects and what effect does it have, and they have to I think that would be interesting to see some sort of a non-Force user's exploration of locations or artifacts that are important
That's
to
cool.
the
Yeah.
Force.
I like that.
Yeah.
When you said Indiana Jones and Star Wars, you instantly had my attention. That is a
Right?
great idea.
Because that's what all the Indiana Jones movies are. It's like this guy, archaeology, and he's going through and seeing supernatural stuff and not expecting it.
Can we still have Nazis? I guess we have stormtroopers.
We have
I guess
space Nazis. So my last question to you about this is, would you be satisfied with getting these standalone stories or like an Obi-Wan movie if it was just in a book or a comic?
No.
Or
No.
even
No.
the Disney streaming service if it was an original movie for the streaming service?
No, I still want movies. There's a total difference between movies and books and comics and TV shows. But this this new television series that's coming out with Jon Favreau, that could blow my expectation. But Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars are so low on my Star Wars likes list that they don't even compare to the movies. Even the prequels, even Attack of the Clones, is heads and tails better to me than Star Wars Rebels.
I do like the animated series, but I do agree with you that the movies are the events. That's the bread and butter. That's what I want to see. That's where the core of my fandom is in the movies. We've both read a lot of books, Star Wars books. I enjoy Star Wars books, but you can't beat the experience of seeing it on a theatrically released movie.
Yep.
With that said, things like Stranger Things on Netflix, I love, and it's a Netflix original, like made for a streaming service show. And so I think that we can get great Star Wars content on the new streaming service, but I agree with you. I actually think Lucasfilm and Disney are relying a little too much on like books and comics to push out content or explain things that we should have seen in a movie.
We all know we're going to get Snoke explained in a book, I'm sure now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the news from today. Obi-Wan movie, if you were hoping for that, it looks like for now it is not happening. Maybe one day in the future it will. Maybe it will be in a streaming service movie. We don't know. But Lucasfilm going all in on Episode 9 and future trilogies for the Star Wars franchise. So we'll have to see how that plays out, and we could fantasize all day about different standalone movies we'd like to see, but in the end, it wouldn't matter, Joseph.
It's not going to matter. But we want you guys to join us in fantasizing with us. Leave your comments, a good standalone that you would have liked to see, and maybe we'll pitch it to the Lucasfilm and they'll see the error of their ways.
When they watch this video, they're probably going to contact us and want some of our creative ideas, obviously.
Hey, I'm all down
so
for
we'll
that.
be ready to give those to them if you comment below.
Thanks for watching, guys. And later this week, expect our Last Jedi video to also drop.
That's right. And that one's going to be a good one. Trust me. I have seen a preliminary cut, and I'm very impressed with Joseph's editing skills. But until then, everyone, keep those socks
Salt.
That's right. Okay, see you guys.
See ya.
Bye.